Welcome to Enlightened, the enlightened journey of life. I am your host, Jen Hamilton, and it is an honor to have you here. I am a conscious life coach and women's empowerment mentor, and I activate a potent level of self and soul inquiry with my clients, which initiates deep and lasting transformation in all areas of their lives. I am here for the full human experience, authentically and audaciously sharing my magic with the world. On this podcast, we're all about mastering life on the way to enlightenment. And as we are here having a human experience, we might as well embrace it all. We play in the space of what is real and tangible, just as much as we play in the space of esoteric and metaphysical. You'll be ignited by deep conversation, whether through my own personal musings, interviews with incredible thought leaders around the world, and everyday divine humans sharing their soulful stories. Thank you for being on this journey. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful soul. Just to let you know that listener discretion is advised for this episode and to be mindful if there are kids around, as it contains adult themes. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Enlightened podcast. Today is a pretty cool episode as I interview one of Australia's leading stage and clinical hypnotists, Jaden Boon, and I have him hypnotise me live. You may want to catch the video version of this one on YouTube. Jaden was originally a hypno-sceptic, and it took him going to a few live shows to see the incredible power of how it can radically change your life in such a short period of time. For the last 4 years, he has lived and breathed hypnosis, and today we dive into his journey, what he helps people with, his experience between doing stage hypnosis and clinical hypnotherapy, and you'll get to witness me doing something I haven't done in 35 years. It's a doozy. Now, I must let you know before we start that the audio recorder picked up my computer mic instead of my podcasting mic. P.S. Can we blame Mercury retrograde for this one? So the audio isn't brilliant. I promise you, though, this is an episode you don't want to miss. Make sure you check out the show notes as Jaden has regular stage events on. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to work directly with him for hypnosis certification. So without further ado, let's play. Welcome, Jaden. Thank you so much for joining me on the Enlightened podcast. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you very much for having me.
It's the only way to be. Thank you so much for being here. Now, you and I, we've known each other for quite some time, but I've only sort of reconnected in the last little while in the hypnotist space. And I've been watching your work for quite some time, fascinated by the incredible things that you do, because you have this incredible way of balancing both clinical hypnotism and stage and entertainment. Tell us all about the work that you do. Tell us how you manage to balance both of them and what it is that got you into this industry.
Well, there's three massive questions there.
Pressure's on.
Let's start at the start, and then you may need to remind me of those questions. Well, what got me into it? Okay, like most people, I was a skeptic. I honestly, truly didn't believe it. Like I just didn't see how it was possible. So it was about 14 years ago, I went and saw a show, and I paid the money, went along, saw the show, and I walked out of that show, and I still didn't believe it, you know? I just didn't. It's like, how can some person just stand up on stage and say sleep, and you see 20 people, you know, pass out like zombies? It's like, how can someone do that? So, yeah, I really just didn't believe it. Anyway, I went and saw another show, and I think it might have even been at the Eka or somewhere public. And again, I still didn't believe that it was real. I'm just like, they're actors, they're stooges, someone's put them in the audience, they've been chosen, they're specially selected, they're preconditioned. But yeah, and I walked out of that show once again, and I still didn't believe it. And it wasn't until I finally went and saw another show. And my partner at the time, she said to me, I'm going to go up on stage. And I said, you're going to volunteer? And she goes, yeah, I want to go and experience it. I said, all right, off you go then. And 2 hours later, she gets off the stage, and I went, oh my God, this is real. And I just looked at her and I said, look, I'm going to learn this one day. And then I did absolutely nothing for 10 years. And then that relationship came to an end. I was at a point where, I was down and out. I was depressed. I was miserable. I was, wanting a change in my life, wanting something different. And this person who did the show actually had a stop smoking hypnosis seminar come up on Facebook. And I was at work one day and I was like, you know what have I got to lose? Like a lot of people say, I want to try it. Just let me try it. Let me experience it. Let me see what happens. And anyway, I walked out of there 2.5 hours later, and here I am some 4 years later and haven't had a cigarette. And I couldn't believe it was that easy when I walked out of that room. I was like, it couldn't be that easy, surely. Sitting in a chair with your eyes closed, having someone talk at you, because that's how it appears. And it's like, how can you break through a habit that's been so stuck or previously seemed so challenging and so difficult to overcome? And then from there, I just became absolutely obsessed. It's just consumed my entire life, and I've just studied it ever since.
That's amazing. That is so cool. And so balancing like clinical and stage. Tell me about that for you. Which one did you start with?
I started with clinical. So started seeing therapy clients first. I guess in a way it gave me a chance to come out of the training and, use real people to practice on, to get experience. And, my intention always was to be on stage, but, like a lot of people where they go and do the training, but it's like they don't have the courage or the guts or, the balls to do that first show. And that is a massive hurdle for a lot of people and something that, concerned me as well. But yeah, I started with the clients practicing. I was very blessed and very lucky in a sense that my stage career started at the start of COVID. So I was literally 6 weeks out from going on stage for my first show when hypnosis came, shut down every venue, pubs, clubs, closed the doors, refund tickets, give everyone back their money. So during that time, again, I was very lucky. I sat at home and I just practiced my show day in and day out. I used imaginary volunteers. I had people sitting in the couch. I had an audience, and I would sit there and I would just go over my show, my lines, my material, what I was going to do, what I was going to say. And I was very blessed in that sense that I had that extra time to practice and become good, I guess. And, my first show, I had so many good reviews. Everyone was raving about it. Tickets sold out within a couple of weeks. And it was just an amazing, great show. And, I can look back and say that my first show didn't go to shit like a lot of other hypnotists have had that experience, or that they've said my first show was shocking, but I was very fortunate that I had that practice time and, yeah, I was able to perfect it. But how do I balance it now? It's very easy. I see clients through the day, and then the shows are just every couple of months at the moment. So I just do them either on a Friday or Saturday night. And the beauty of a show is, people can come and experience it and see their family members, their friends, their cousins, their aunties, whoever it may be, up on stage doing those crazy and silly things. And there's no denying that it's real. It really turns people around, and so many people come up to me after a show and go, you know what, I was a skeptic and now I'm a believer, because Sally wouldn't be up there doing that, or Johnny wouldn't be up there doing that. They know these people, and, even though these people would do that, under hypnosis, it's just amplified, and they truly let out their inner ambitions and just forget the audience is there and just have fun. And, the shows are an amazing way to promote your therapy business. I think it makes you better all-rounded. You're dealing with multiple personalities and multiple people at a time, and I do genuinely believe that really does help in the therapy room. And then again, having that massive audience to speak to educate, to say that there is a very serious side of it. And if they want to come and learn more or have a better understanding, come and talk to me after the show.
I love it. And I love that you've bridged both of them because I've done my training obviously in clinical hypnotherapy. And it's interesting because we learnt in the course like a little bit about stage and just sort of how different it is, and it's kind of one or the other. Like generally you don't, well, in my view of the world, I haven't seen sort of too many that promote both of them. And then when I sort of started seeing your stuff, I'm like, hang on, clinical and stage, which one are you doing? And I love the fact that, you know, you've explained that you can bridge both of them together. It gives people a bit of a taste test in that more relaxed environment of going to a show, having a bit of fun, seeing, you know, friends or family or just kind of, you know, randoms up on the stage, being able to do this. And the fact that they do the things. I remember going to a show, 15 odd years ago. And it was, I went up as the you know, the person that wanted to be on the stage, and I was like, all right, okay, let's see if this thing, and I'm up there and I'm doing all of the things. Like I have a clear memory of doing all the things that they said to do, and I'm like, I'm doing them, but I can't stop myself. And so I've kind of had the experience of being on both sides of it. Like obviously in the clinical environment, being able to hold that space for people to move through kind of the bigger stuff. Like, you know, people come through, you know, in the therapy space because they're wanting to move through something big. Whereas, you know, it's a very, very different environment up on stage.
It is 100%. But, you know, like I say to people, and many people say it, you know, it's an old saying, you know, laughter is the best medicine. And when you hear that audience erupt, or someone performs or acts or says a certain thing or carries on in a certain way, hearing that audience in just hysterics and the testimonials after where people go, you know what, my cheeks were hurting. I haven't laughed that much in a long time. But then again, also making them understand that even though we can have so much fun, that it is serious. It is life-changing. And as you said before, you know, some people are either one or the other, and they are. But it's like, what if you could have multiple sources? What if you could have income from the therapy? You can have income from the shows. And, you know, a lot of people did suffer during COVID because of that. You know, the venues got shut down. They weren't performing. Some people weren't on cruise ships and in venues. And because they didn't do therapy, they didn't have that to fall back on. Where because I had already worked for a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was, on my therapy, I just stopped promoting the show and just kept going with that.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that you got it, you know, from all angles. Tell us some of the funnest things that have happened on stage for you. What's like some really sort of, you know, things imprinted in your mind where you're like, well, that was fucking cool.
Oh, I mean, there's been heaps, but like an actual example, I don't know, this, even just doing stuff like this, you know, for argument's sake, literally showing people how quickly people can change. I've removed fears and phobias on stage in as little as 2 minutes. You know, I sometimes bring out a snake. I do a skit with a snake and bring a rubber snake out, and you see some people absolutely crap their pants. And, you know, one of the shows I did in Mount Isa, the guy ripped the snake out of my hand and absolutely pegged it across the venue. You know, some people are absolutely petrified of them, and being able to, in that split second, help them undo whatever caused that trigger or association with a snake. And, you know, within, you know, a couple of minutes, they're taking that rubber snake and they're wrapping it around their body and they're petting it. And, you know, they think it's so fascinating. So, I mean, doing stuff like that, I always like doing that because it shows the audience, plus it also gives them an experience. But I think it's just more so people's reactions, their personalities to the skits. You know, sometimes I also do a skit, you know, it's very, very common. It's very old, but it's very fun and it's very effective, where you do the hypnotic sleep gun. So I'll say on the count of 3, you'll think that I've got a gun in my hands, and I go 1, 2, 3, and some of them like freeze and they absolutely crap their pants. And I say it's not a normal gun, it's a hypnotic sleep gun. Look, when I shoot you, you'll go deep asleep. And some people like explode their body. Some people, you know, just collapse like a rag doll. You never know the reactions or how people are going to respond. And I think it's in those moments where it's like there is so many standout things that have happened, but they happen so quick and you never know that it's really going to happen, if that makes sense. It's just one of those in the moment things where you just lose it, you know. Yeah, there's been many, many highlights, but yeah, trying to come up with something that really stands out off the top of my head, it's just the reactions, the way people respond, what they say, what they do to the suggestion.
I love it. And so let's speak into a bit more about what hypnosis actually is.
Well, some people like to say that no one goes in, no one goes under, that we're constantly in a trance all the time. You know, I tend to massively believe that. But trance, or getting people into a hypnotized state, you know, like I say to people, people are hypnotized into having their problem. They went into a trance for their problem to be created in the first place. So all we're doing is getting them to go back into that trance-like state that was created at the time and undoing the problem where it was created. So, you know, like I say to some people, I go, I'm not going to hypnotize you, but I'm going to de-hypnotize you. I'm going to help you to let go of all the bullshit that you've hypnotized yourself into, or the belief that you've created, or the understanding that you've created, or, you know, the memory that's imprinted in your mind that's affecting you. And, you know, all hypnosis is a pure state of focus and imagination. Nothing more, nothing less. All you're doing is getting people to focus their imagination. And we do this all day, every day. You know, why do people cry when they watch a movie? You know, you're not sitting there going, it's just a movie, but it feels so real. It's gone past the critical faculty of your mind and you're absorbed into that experience. It feels real. You're feeling that emotion as if you're there. You know, and again, you're not sitting there going, there's a cameraman over there, there's a director over there, but it's touched your emotions. And hypnosis, that's all we're doing is working with people's emotions. We're tapping into the part of the mind that controls the emotional states, and everything that we do is based on emotions. So if someone's feeling a way that they don't want to feel, you can change the way that you perceive that, or the way that it's affecting you, and have a more positive and more beneficial outcome.
I love it. That's so cool. And I love the fact that you touched on, you know, emotions that we experience. And I love the way that you frame it, how we're already in that hypnotic state, because it's so true. Like, you know, everything that we experience in the world around us, you know, we're in a trance-like state already. And so it's about, and even just being aware of that can be a game changer within itself.
100%. And this is what people don't realize, that it's like your imagination is working every single day. You know, I did a video on this just the other day where I was talking about carbonara sauce. You know, I looked into the pantry, saw carbonara there, and I was like, oh, carbonara would be nice. We haven't had that in a while. A couple of days later, Beck says to me, hey, what do you want for dinner? And instantly, my subconscious or unconscious mind presented me that image that I saw the other day and that it saved. And instantly I went, there's the photo, carbonara. And this is happening constantly, day in and day out. Like, how do you get anywhere? How do you get to the shops? How do you know to turn left at the end of the street? How do you know to turn right? How do you know where to go? You're remembering it off your imagination. So our imagination plays part in everything that we do every single day, and people are just not aware of it. But the more that you become aware of the way your mind is operating, the more you can stop doing shit that you don't want to do.
I love it. That's a tagline in itself. Hypnosis, to stop doing the shit that you don't want to do. I mean, it's right there.
100%. And you know, I get it when people are skeptics, or they don't believe it, or they don't want to open up their mind. As I said, I was one of those people. There's no way in a million years, you know, I thought that I would be sitting here doing podcasts talking about hypnosis. You know, and I had someone,
here we are.
Yeah, and I had someone talking to me about my training the other day, and they go, look, do you think it's for me? And I said, if you think it's for you, go for it. I didn't think this was for me, but here I am. And we stick with the things that we like, and we drop the shit that we don't. And that's what I said. If you really like it, you'll stick at it. If it's not for you, then, you know, you have more self-knowledge and understanding on the mind.
Absolutely. I saw a post that you put up the other day, or maybe it was a memory that was shared, and it was, I think it was like a single session and had cured someone's eczema.
Yeah, my partner. Yep.
It was your partner. Tell us about that. How is that even possible? Like, we know that, you were talking about your imagination. Eczema is a real thing on some people's bodies. Tell us how that coincides with, like, how do you do that?
Well, it's like with anything, right? Everything's manifested in the mind and starts with the mind. So if you can focus the mind, right, and begin to ask the body or instruct the body, and like I say to people, this isn't a silver bullet. This doesn't fix everything, and like I say to people, you've just got to try things. Just give it a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and if it works, then it works. But how it came about, so my partner, Rebecca, she was actually born, or one of the only babies born in Melbourne, Victoria, covered head to toe in eczema. So she was funded by the government, and she was in newspaper articles, and they actually funded her treatment because she was such a rare case. So when she suffered with eczema, she suffered with eczema, and she's had it her whole life. And so I got approached by a lady to do a hypnosis training in Melbourne via Zoom, and they said, "Hey, what can you show us? Let's demonstrate something. Let's understand how we can talk to specific parts of the body or the mind and get it to heal, restore, or repair." And that's what we did. I put Beck into a trance. I did a hypnotic process with her, asked the eczema. And this might sound woo-woo and weird and crazy to people, and I get it because, if people had said this to me 4 years ago, I'd be like, what's he on about? But you can talk to specific parts of the body. I asked to speak to the eczema, and I asked if the body is able to fix it, if it knows why this problem was caused, and if it can actually rectify this issue. And it happily agreed, and Beck's been eczema-free for a year now.
That's incredible. Like, that shit is mind blowing. That's why, like, these are the type of things that drew me initially into hypnotherapy. I'm like, I love the stuff that's not possible but happens, because it actually is possible. We just truly don't believe that it is. Like, to hear something like that would have been life changing for her.
100%. And the thing is too, it's like when people don't believe it, it's like, say to someone, do you believe your mind could cure you of cancer? And, if they'll say yes or no, you can understand their belief system. But if someone said yes, you could work with them very, very easily. And, I'm not saying that you could fix everyone, but you could definitely help people, if they are suffering, if they are in pain, if medications are taking effects, and give them some sort of relief. It's life-changing. It's massive, especially when she did suffer for so long. There was always a rash there. She was always scratching, and like with most skin conditions or any condition, it's aggravated by stress. So it's like, even if you could work with the stress and not necessarily the skin condition, then the skin condition is going to be a lot less if the stress is managed.
100%. When I did my clinical hypnotherapy training, it was a dual with psychotherapy. And so basically, the way I learned through the Ericksonian technique was that, if you, like back in the olden days when hypnotherapy sort of started coming out, there was a 40 to 60% success rate on these things. And there was a lot of scripts. So there was a script for weight loss. There was a script for stopping smoking. And, they had a good success rate, but it wasn't amazing. And then when, like, the path that I went down for clinical and using the Ericksonian technique, coupled with the strategic psychotherapy, basically said that instead of, say, for example, someone comes and they want to stop smoking, there's absolutely so many incredible techniques that you can use to help people literally stop smoking, or you can take them on a path through psychotherapy to go, well, hang on, why do you smoke? At the underneath, the smoking, you and I both have been smokers in the past. Underneath that was the fact that I had a belief system that it would help me de-stress. In fact, it was probably doing the exact opposite. On a physiological level, it really doesn't. But I had this belief that was like, oh, okay, well, at the end of the day, I have to have a cigarette, or at lunchtime, I have to go out and have a cigarette, or when I get back to my car, I have to go and have a cigarette, whatever the belief system was. But then, when I did my training, it was like, hang on a second, why are we not looking at what the cause is? The cause is the stress. Okay, let's go there. Tell me about the stress that you're under. Tell me, how do you determine what stress is and all of that. And so love how hypnotherapy has evolved over time as well. Because absolutely, like I said, like there's, old scripted versions, you can listen to them on YouTube and all sorts of things, but to work with an actual therapist to have a personalized experience and go for the reasons why you do certain things is a much better result. Would you agree?
Totally. I couldn't agree more. And, I think sometimes where, lack of training comes in sometimes through certain trainers and academies, it's like a lot of them are just about pumping hypnotists out.
Hypnotists, I like that.
Because anyone can sit and read a script at anyone, but scripts are just symptom based.
Mm-hmm.
They're just symptom based, like smoking. How many times do you say smoking through a smoking script or anxiety through an anxiety script? And, as you said before, it's the root cause, going back to what caused this in the first place. Why are you doing this? And especially for smokers, adults very, very rarely start smoking. Adults don't smoke, children smoke. And why did they start smoking? To be cool, to fit in, to be part of society or a group, to be accepted and I don't know if I said this yet, or to be cool. They're the reasons that people started doing it in the first place. But then people get stuck, as they grow up, they get older, and then they start to use it to cope with stress and their emotions. And, as I like to call it, it's just an adult pacifier. All you're doing is putting that adult dummy in your mouth and sucking your feelings back down a little bit more and going, that's better until the next time. And then you get stressed again and you reach for another cigarette and you suck that stress down a little bit more. And, people wonder why they get sick and they're unhappy. So it's like, rather than dealing with things in the moment, they're using, we say it time and time again, some external thing to make them feel better.
Mm. Yeah, it's so true. I was the cool kid. If for anyone that's listening that knows either Jaden or I that's from the Redlands, I was the cool one smoking after school at the Capella Bar bus stop. And for me also, like smoking, I've spoken about this on an episode before, smoking for me was connection with my dad because he was a smoker. And the only time that we had deep and meaningful chats is when he'd say, hey, let's go outside for a cigarette. He wouldn't even say, let's go outside for a cigarette. He'd be like, hey, do you want to go check the weather with me? That was code for come outside for a cigarette. And it was the time when we used to have our chats together. And then when he said that he was stopping smoking, I was like, oh, well, there goes my whole relationship with my father. Like that's how it felt at the time, because I used to bond with him over it. And then, as I sort of, got, and that was like in my, late teens. And then in my 20s as a smoker, going clubbing, I would spend, half my time to 3/4 of my time in the smoking section, making the best of friends, bonding over cigarettes and smoking, having chats with friends, having deep and meaningfuls when the MDMA was kicking in. Like, that was my association with a good time and how to connect with people and how to bond. And it wasn't even the fact, like, I hated the actual clubbing part. Like, I was very rarely on the dance floor. I didn't really drink because I was usually high on drugs, but I loved the connection piece that smoking meant, because it meant I could still hear the music from inside. I could go out and I could have conversation with people, and I love talking. And to me, that's what brought me and my friends together. We bonded over smoking, and so I created this this very toxic formation with smoking. It's like I'm just craving conversation and connection with somebody.
Massively. And that's the thing, right? It's like people don't realize, the unconscious beliefs or the understanding behind it. That's why they are so stuck in their problem. I want to quit. I know it's bad for me, but I can't. And, they're at a point where they feel like they've lost control. The cigarette controls me. I no longer control it. Every time I say I'm going to stop, or I'm not going to buy another packet, or, and before they know it, they've walked out of the tobacco store, or they've driven away from a servo with a cigarette hanging out of their mouth, and they go, I didn't even realize that I'd done it. And again, it is that social aspect that people are looking for to feel connected. And if we have some sort of disconnect, if we don't feel loved, wanted, valued, needed, cherished, cared for, then we are going to look outside of ourselves to find that in one way or another. Get that from one place or another.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? And I mean, the same goes for, any sort of addiction. We're looking for something to either numb us or take us to a place that, reminds us of something. For me, using those recreational drugs, it was connection. It was, to me, that's how I coded having fun. Back in my 20s. And it had to drastically change when I realized, like, hang on, this life is not sustainable. This is not great. I'm losing, friends, and, I'm not feeling great all of the time. But there's a lot of people that sort of get stuck in that addiction cycle and remain, in and out of active addiction. In your experience, clinically, and I mean, even stage as well, tell me about, people that you've worked with any sort of addiction and how they can overcome that with, the power of hypnosis.
Well, again, like with anything, it doesn't matter what someone comes to me with, any form of addiction or any behavior. Again, it's based on the driving emotions. So usually, and this isn't always the case, but usually, especially with drugs and alcohol, there's been some sort of trauma. Now, again, trauma is different for everyone. What's trauma for one is not trauma for another. What someone would laugh about is what someone would affect someone for the rest of their life. So it's subjective. It's different for everyone. But again, at the end of the day, the symptom or the problem that they've come to me with, and they've said, look, I want you to help me get off the drugs or to stop drinking. That's the symptom to the problem. So in a way, you work with that, but you're disregarding that, if that makes sense. You're going back to where this problem was created and why they're doing it in the first place. Whether it is the trauma, whether, they've got events in their life that they still feel grief or guilt or shame, or they're depressed, or, they're in a constant state of feeling anxious. So again, all those things are to take them from one reality, the reality that they're in, to an altered reality where they're no longer experiencing those symptoms anymore. So most of the time, people are just looking for a way out rather than, I guess, to, do negative stuff to themselves, because people know how bad it is. And I know some people want to have fun and they want to engage in those things and they don't necessarily have some sort of trauma. But again, maybe they're looking for connection. Maybe they are looking for love. Maybe they just want to feel wanted by a group or by people. Because, again, these are all the things as to why people are doing the things that they are doing. Everything's based on underlying emotions. So I always start there. I go back, and we hear it time and time again in this profession, to the root cause. We're going to go to the root cause. But you've got to deal with the problem where it was created.
100%. And as I mentioned, smoking was, for me, ultimately the connection I had with my father, and therefore reflected in connection with friends and connection with men. And then that also, not that it was not that any part of it I would associate with trauma itself, but, taking recreational drugs, in the club scene like MDMA, it's because I loved the way men or my friends would talk. One of my my highest values in my love languages is physical touch and words of affirmation. And so I would receive that, when everyone's on MDMA, that would fill that void, essentially, that first of all, I didn't even know I had to put that within myself. I didn't even know what self-love was back then, or, filling my own cup or being my own best friend. All I knew was that it had to come, externally back in those days. And, it was, for me, about going, through all of the work that I've gone through, and then, that bringing me to wanting to study hypnotherapy, which led to studying, NLP and doing masters, and then realizing I'm like, oh, I'm not just here to help other people. I've got to do the work on myself first. I've got to work through my own shit before I can support other people in this as well. And that was an eye opener.
For sure. Massively. Yeah. And it was a bit opposite for me. I wanted to fix my own shit. I didn't want to even help people. I didn't get into this to help people. I got into it to help me. But then what it gave me and what it did for me, I wanted to give that to I wanted to be that person to help someone, or to see them, overcome their struggles, give to other people what, I gave to myself, but someone else helped facilitate, and that's why I do what I do. You know, I want people to have that and know how freeing and how fucking good it can be once you move through your own shit. And again, you know, I don't want to bag on everyone, but there is, you know, some courses and classes and trainings out there where it's like they'll teach you everything that you need to do, but they don't help you have your own breakthroughs. They don't help you let go of your own shit. And it's like, how is there depressed people out there helping depressed people? It's like you're just the biggest hypnocrit there is. It just makes no sense. You know, it's like you've got to get over your own shit so you can guide other people to do the same.
100,000,000,000,000,000%. That's been, yeah, it's been, you know, such a big part of my journey is like I can't help people in certain ways that I haven't helped myself in, or at least on the journey to helping myself with. You know, and you know, personal development, self-growth, self-discovery, like it's a journey. You never just get there and you're like, oh, I'm done, I'm healed now. I was talking to someone earlier today and we were talking about like, you know, being an onion, like it's just layers upon layers, and, you know, you can hover and you can integrate and you've got to let things land for a little while. And then, you know, you become this new version of yourself. And then it's like, oh, there's another layer. Let's see what this one's bringing forward.
Totally agree. It doesn't stop, you know, and I've done so many posts on this where it's like, letting go is a forever process. It's not just a one-time thing, you know, and that's what I say to clients. I'm like, the work doesn't stop after you leave here. You know, shit is still going to go down. Life is still going to happen. People are still going to pass away. Your loved ones might leave you. Your dog might die. You might get hit by a car. Someone might steal your car. Someone might rob your house. But it's like, how are you now going to deal and manage with these things? Because it's life. There is always something. You know, as business owners, as people who deal with people day in and day out in our own families and obstacles and challenges ourselves, there is always something. And it is a forever process of, you know, delving into our own shit and going, okay, why did I say that? Or why am I doing this? Or why am I feeling like that? It is a constant battle. It doesn't stop.
It really is. And one of the eye-opening things that I experienced when I did my training for hypnotherapy, I remember very, very vividly the facilitator saying, you know, anxiety is just a thought process. And, you know, having experienced postnatal anxiety before, I was triggered as fuck. I was like, how fucking dare you say that? You've not had a baby. You've not gone through this. And then I went, hang on a second. Anxiety is a thought process. It's, you know, creating a story in a future that doesn't yet exist, hanging out in there so long that my body is literally having a physiological response to something that doesn't yet exist. And it was like, oh wow, how do I even convey that to people that aren't willing to hear it? Because I certainly, like, as soon as he said, you know, anxiety is just a thought process, it's all in your head. And I was like, had my moment. And I was like, okay, no, all right, if I look at this, you know, from a realist perspective, yes, anxiety is a thought process. Tell me about your experience working with people with anxiety, and let's go there. Is there such a thing for clinical anxiety and depression to have a chemical imbalance in the brain? Because I have heard multiple scenarios on this, and I'd love to hear your perspective. This is not something we've talked about off air or anything like this. I'd love to hear your perspective on this, and don't hold back.
Yeah, it's hard, right? I don't want to cross any boundaries. You know, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I've never looked at any scans. I honestly could not make that call of whether it is a chemical imbalance. Now, is it when they do scans on people that are clinically depressed or clinically anxious and they can see an imbalance? But is that imbalance created in the mind because of the emotions and the feelings that you're feeling? So when they do the scans on those people or the tests or whatever they do, see, I'm not a medical professional. This is just my take and you know, what I think on it. It's like that imbalance because, you know, when I was experiencing those symptoms or feeling that way, I, to some extent, thought I had a chemical imbalance as well. And look, I probably did. But it's like if I changed the way that I think and I started to think more positive, happy thoughts, you know, as they say, when you get a notification on your phone or an email or someone messages you, you know, you get that dopamine spike. It's like, okay, so the more that you make yourself happy and the more that you think about happy shit or positive shit, or you do stuff that makes you feel good, are you, recalibrating or readjusting that chemical imbalance yourself? And to be honest, I think that you are. You're creating a negative experience and a negative imbalance. So if that is true, then the opposite is true. You can fix and rectify that imbalance by thinking differently or letting go of the emotions, whether it's stuck energy or it's just a shitty way of being that is the imbalance, and letting go or shifting that or going, you know what, I don't have that weight on my shoulders anymore. Did it just level itself back out and overtake the imbalance? Because doctors and psychologists, they wanted me on depression and anxiety medication, and just through my own stuff, I flat out refused. It wasn't the way I wanted to go. It wasn't for me. I wanted to make me happy, and I wanted to know that I could get there myself without relying on something artificial. Because it's like, if I continue to take that, how am I going to know that I'm getting better or I'm being happy myself? And again, it's like, if these experiences are created in the mind, what the fuck do I want to take a pill for? Like, can't we tap into the mind using a natural state, or the natural state that you created when this fucking problem was created in the first place? Because, majority of people, doesn't matter how old they are, their problem started between the ages of 0 and 14 years of age. So, and as we know, people in that age bracket are constantly in a trance. So put them back into that trance and let go, and maybe the imbalance will fix itself. Again, that's just my take. Could be wrong. I don't know, but it's what I believe, and I'm glad that I did it. But working with anxiety, as you said, I say to people, how did you explain it again? It's a thought process?
Yeah.
Yep. So I say to people, anxiety is not something that you have; it's something that you do. Mm. You create anxiety, and I can relate where you said you wanted to, I don't know, punch them or hit them or lose your shit at them, because I felt the same. I go, how fucking dare you? Why would I want to do this? Why would I want to do this day in and day out? But it's not until you realize why it's happening and how you're doing it that you can stop doing it. Mm. And again, there was a reason where it was created in the first place. My take on it is anxiety is just the overstimulation of the nervous system. It's the shame, it's the grief, it's the guilt, it's the depression, it's the hurt, it's the trauma, and all those things that are locked into your body, why you people please, why you feel not good enough, why you feel not worthy, are from those experiences. But when you think about not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not living up to everyone's expectations or their standards, you start to have those reoccurring thoughts. So recreating those illustrations, those pictures, those movies in your mind. As you said, you sit on it, you manifest it, you shitstorm it. And then the most common thing about anxiety is anxiety is just a feeling that moves in your body, and it's moving too fast. If you change the direction of the anxiety or you slow it the fuck down, anxiety disappears.
Yes, absolutely. And anxiety within itself is not a bad thing. It gets a pretty bad rap. And the thing is, as like in our culture, in our modern day society, in the collective consciousness that we have been going through in the last few years, everybody has a fucking fried nervous system. Everyone has been on edge. Everyone has been catapulted into this state of fight, flight, or freeze. Because if we look at what's happened in the last few years around the world, we've noticed like people have lost their jobs, their houses. There's been so much uncertainty. And ultimately, at the basis of everything, of this whole fucking human experience, all we're here to do is survive. And we will do anything to preserve our survival. And if that means, fighting for being right, because, when we code, being right with survival, as long as we can be right about something, we will completely sacrifice ourselves in order, to be right, to be safe, to live, as opposed to I can't be wrong about something that is unsafe, I might die. So from a very primal perspective, we're all just fighting for that same thing. But if we're not looking after ourselves, if we're not supporting our nervous system, if we're not nourishing our bodies, if we're not getting the sunshine, if we're not drinking the enough water, if we're not moving our bodies and exercising and moving energy through, if we're not nourishing each and every single cell in our body with good food, then of course we're going to be a little bit fucked up. Of course we're going to have this chemical imbalance in inverted commas because of, the overstimulation of our nervous system, which is keeping us in this fried state of fight, flight, or freeze, which there's nothing wrong with being in that because we're designed to be in it. It's when we hang out there for far too long. And, through my own personal experience, through working with hundreds of clients, I know that, the nervous system is everything, and it's what is in, what's in our subconscious mind. As you mentioned, that theta brainwave that we're in for those first 14 years, those imprinting years of our lives, has shaped the way we think, we be in the world. And, when we start to unravel that, we start to realize all of these deeply ingrained belief systems that have shaped us into who we are. And that is the power of hypnosis, to go back, and it's the ultimate unfucking. It's the ultimate, it's that recalibration. But at the same time, we have to remember that we've got to, nourish our bodies at the same time. It's our lifestyle. It's who we're around. It's if we're in a highly stressful job constantly, or a highly stressful business, or we're in, a marriage or a relationship that isn't, igniting passion and love, more than it is, that stress and that fear, then we've got to take a fucking look at it and, really embody that radical self-responsibility and go, something's not okay here. I know for myself, if I'm experiencing anxiety, a very normal human response, but I know that there is something for me personally that is out of alignment, that it's trying to just get my attention. My body's like, hello, I'm trying to tell you something here and you're not listening. And it's like, okay, there's too much going on in my brain right now. Okay, I need to chill. I need to take the afternoon off. I need to sit down and journal. I need to just look at the thing that's like flashing a red light at me constantly.
And this is where people go wrong, right? They're getting the red light all the fucking time, but they don't listen. And when they finally come and see us is when the Mack truck finally comes, because they've had 600 red lights, but they didn't listen to them. So now the semi-trailer had to come to give you the wake-up that you needed.
Yes. So when Jaden refers to the semi-trailer, so there's this theory of the feather, the brick, and the semi-trailer. So your body or something in your life is going to try and get your attention, like a nice little soft feather being brushed over you. It's like, hello, that feels lovely. It's trying to get your attention, but it doesn't hurt. It's a feather, for fuck's sake. And then next thing, you're going to get a brick thrown at you. Like, whoa, where the fuck did that come from? This could be an illness. That could be some sort of disease. It could be the loss of a relationship, or, a job, being sacked or something like that, being made redundant. And then you're like, oh, okay, all right, just, keep powering through, keep pushing through all of the things. And then the Mack truck comes along and it just knocks you for six and you're on your ass. You've either literally been hit by a car or a truck, or you've been, diagnosed with something that you've got to now spend some time, working on your health, or something's happened that is so, so powerful to, wake you the fuck up, essentially, to be like, you're not listening. You need to pay attention here. So that's the theory of the feather, the brick, and the Mack truck. And look, at the same time, we still get to exist in the human experience. Of course, there's certain things that we don't want to look at just yet and we bypass. And it's not until we get the brick that we're like, okay, I need to slow the fuck down now.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Have you had an experience in your own life where you've had, the feather, the brick, and the Mack truck, and then you've had to, first of all, take radical self-responsibility, and then, go about, creating deep and lasting change in your own life?
Lots. But it's like, where do you start? Yeah, there has been many. I guess one of the wake-up calls for me was, my best friend passing away, my relationship breaking down, me being a smoker and absolutely just smoking myself to death every day, which I was. I was waking up every day spewing because I had so much poison in me that my body was just rejecting it, and, being riddled with anxiety and trying to use those cigarettes to cope. I mean, I can see warning signs well back, but it's like with anything, right? It doesn't, sometimes we just need to keep going. We need to keep going through those things. We need to keep making the fuck ups. We need to keep making the mistakes. And sometimes, we weren't supposed to wake up to the feather. We weren't supposed to wake up to the brick. But finally, the wake up call happened when it finally happened at the right time. People say everything happens at the right time, a cliche, but it's, and people say it time and time again, but it's true. It does. It happens when it's supposed to happen. When I was in that previous relationship, she said, get help. She told me to do things and I had no interest. And then finally, once that relationship went to shit, I was like, shit, okay, well, I better do something now. I better take responsibility. I better take radical action, and yeah, even being at my miserable job where I was before I was doing what I did now, I was there for 13 years, and every week I wanted to get out of there and I felt trapped and stuck and lost and didn't know where I wanted to go. But again, it all worked out at the right time, when it was supposed to happen. There's no way, 4.5 years ago, there's no way I would have imagined I'm in the position that I'm in now. It just seems impossible or unimaginable.
Yeah, here we are, and it's real.
It's so real. And, like I bang on to people, it's like once you get out of your own way and you realize that, fuck, you are capable. And once you believe that you truly are capable, not just, yeah, I'm capable, but really believing it, shit changes dramatically. Again, going back to that first show, did I think I was capable? I mean, I did, but fuck, I was shit scared. I was shitting myself.
And how did you feel after it was done?
And I think I said this to you last time. I've never taken drugs in my life, but if that's like what taking every single drug is like, then it was a fucking good place to be. I couldn't sleep. I was just so high. I was on top of the world. It was awesome. As I said, it was a great show, and it's like finally all this hard work has finally come to this point where it's like, okay, I've just done my first show. This is the point where my life now changes. Because from there, it's just been show, and that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to work with the therapy clients that want to come to me, and I want to entertain the people that want to come and see the show. And from those shows come the people that are ready for that change. And maybe, to them, by me saying something that triggers them or that they can relate to, sometimes at a show is their Mack truck.
Yeah.
They come up to me and they go, shit, what you're saying I can relate to, or that's what I'm experiencing, or do you think you could help me? It wasn't until that I saw a show for myself that I thought this was really a possibility. This was an option. This is now maybe the way that I want to sort my life out. I just didn't know before how I could do it. And this resonates with me a lot, and a lot of, and I do work with a lot of middle-aged women, but I also work with a lot of younger people as well, where it's like, you don't need to come in and talk about your problems 700 times more. It doesn't matter. It's over. You don't need to delve into it anymore. It's more about how we're going to deal with what's happened and get you through it, not sitting there talking about it because it's done. It's done. But what are you still experiencing or reliving? That's what we're going to fix.
Yeah, it's all about that line in the sand. It's like, what do we need to do to move forward? We're not going back and unpacking the trauma or their experience. And look, there's a time and a place for all of that, absolutely. And, from a clinical, therapy perspective, sometimes it can be really supportive and there's different techniques to do so. But it's not where we want to constantly hang out. I mean, we want to face the future and go, I'm heading this way. What does it look like to go there, as opposed to living in the past? We want to be, present and looking forward, as opposed to looking behind us constantly.
Yeah, anyone with a problem, that's all they're doing. They're looking back. And as Gary Vee says, looking back fucks with your neck.
Look, Gary Vee. Tell me about some of the I guess, skeptics. Obviously, there's skeptics out there. There's certain people that literally just cannot be hypnotized because they decide that they either don't want to be, or that they're too strong, or that they're going to try and outsmart the therapist. Tell us about your experience with people like that.
Well, look at it like this, right? If that's the case, it's not that they can't be hypnotized; they're already hypnotized.
Mm-hmm.
Because all hypnosis is a belief. So if they believe they can't, they're already hypnotized. All they've done is create a self-belief. So by not believing it, they're doing what they already think they're not. That's how I catch people out all the time. But in therapy, everyone can be hypnotized. But in a stage show, you want the people that are going to go the quickest, the deepest, and that have a personality and that are going to perform. Mm. But I just had a mind blank. What was the actual question?
Your experience with people with skeptics, and that say that if you say you can't be hypnotized, you're not going to be hypnotized. I mean, I love your perspective of what you say, that they're in a trance state anyway. If they have this belief system, then they're already hypnotized because they're within their belief system. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, really. Like it's and good on them. Good on them.
And there's few different types, right? There's people who come up to you and go, "No, I don't believe it," and walk off. There are those that come up and have a look around, have a look. They go, "Nah, that's bullshit." Then they walk off, and then they come back and go, "Can you show me something?" And then you get those that just want to stand there and watch. And with skeptics, I love skeptics. My job is to convert the skeptics and not push it on them, but for those that are interested and want to hear about it and understand it, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with them. This is what it is. This is what it isn't. This is what I've done. This is what I haven't done. This is what's possible. This is what's not possible. And then I literally go straight from there into hypnosis. You don't believe it? Okay. Do you want to have an experience? Do you want to try this for yourself? Because, like I say to them, I'm not mind controlling you. I'm not getting into your mind. But all I'm getting you to do is focus your mind so that you have better control of it. So if you follow through with this imagination game that we're about to play, you're hypnotizing yourself. It's not me doing it to you, but it's you allowing yourself to have an experience. So if people are genuinely skeptic, but they want to know, I will do a convincer. I will hypnotize them so that they can be in that moment converted to a believer.
I love it. You mentioned mind control. There's a lot of people that think hypnosis is mind control. And it's definitely something that I pre-frame whenever I'm working with anyone in the space of, hypnotherapy when they come in for it. There's always, the spiel about what it is and what it isn't, what to expect and, what you may experience. And there's a lot of people that believe that it is mind control because there is such a thing as mind control as well from an entertainment perspective. And then there's a lot of what I have noticed, especially in a clinical environment, is the fact that, stage hypnosis has definitely got a place. You do incredible things up on stage as an entertainer and performer, but also, from your clinical perspective as well. But what I always say to people is, the stage has given people it's given hypnosis a bad rap because people just think that they're going to cluck like a chicken and that I have control over them. Like I even had a family member say to my mum, "Oh, look, she's going to hypnotize you into, being the only one in the will," or something like that, right? So there's this deep-seated belief about what hypnosis is. And, especially if someone was just to witness what is able to happen on stage, I can definitely understand how someone would think that they're under the power or the spell of someone else, because if they genuinely get up on stage and they are doing shit that they would not do in their everyday life because they're being told by the guy in the nice suit to do so, and they're doing it, surely there's a reason that it's happening and that it is mind control. So what's your perspective on that?
Well, if it was right, we wouldn't be up on stage. We wouldn't be working in a therapy clinic. We'd be down at ATMs hypnotizing people, extracting their PIN numbers and going to town on their bank account. But we're not, because it doesn't work like that. Like if I had someone up on stage and I said, on the count of 3, you're going to take your clothes off and you're going to get naked, it's not going to happen, because, you know, their morals are still intact. Their values are still intact. They know where they are. They know that they're part of a hypnosis show. They're not going to do anything that breaks the barriers or the parameters. Now, look, it might be a bit different where you're saying before, to some extent, you can mind control or brainwash people. You can, but you can't do that in a 2-hour hypnosis show. You need to spend multiple, you know, cults and stuff have been guilty of it in the past. You've got to spend plenty of time coercing someone, you know, and anyone who has morals, values, and ethics, they're not going to abuse, you know, the system. They're not going to abuse the responsibility. They're not going to abuse the, you know, the tool. You know, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, I was the one up on stage clucking like a chicken before, so I know what it's like to be, you know, up on stage and doing it. And I remember doing it, and I'm like, I'm doing this, but you're right. Like, I knew what my boundary was as well. If they had been like, "Hey, take your top off," I'd be like, "No, that's not okay." You know, you still have your wits about you. You still have active control over your mind and your body. And what I always say to people, you know, especially when I'm putting them, you know, into that hypnotic trance state, I say to them, you can get up and walk out at any time. I've got no control on you. You know, I give them the opportunity when they're going under that, you know, into that trance state. It's like, if you want to, you know, test this out and like lift your left arm, you go for it. I'm not going to stop you. You have full permission to, you know, cherry pick from what I say, take away any parts that resonate with you and leave behind anything that doesn't, because ultimately it's all suggestibility. It's all based from, you know, the power of suggestion once we're, you know, in that trance state, to then sort of reprogram that subconscious and the belief systems that are in there. And that definitely puts people's mind at ease, you know, when they start to understand, oh, okay, so I can get up and walk out. Oh, okay, so I'm not just, you know, under the spell of someone. And it's so funny, a lot of people come out of it and they kind of like, you know, they get back into their body and they're just like looking around and they're like, oh, wow, that was really quick. I'm like, yeah, that was an hour. I'm like, no, that was 5 minutes. No, that was an hour.
Very common in the stage shows. Time distortion, no concept of time. And the way I explain that to people after a session, after they have that experience, I'm like, think about when you first started seeing someone and you knew that the day was going to come to an end and that you weren't going to spend the rest of the night or the rest of the evening with them, right? You might see them at 7 o'clock in the morning and then 5 o'clock that afternoon, they're going and you're like, hey, what? What have we been doing? How? Time disappears. You know, time flies when you're having fun, when you're engaged in your favorite hobby, you know, one of your favorite things. You know, it's like when you're watching a movie, there's no concept of time. It's irrelevant. It's not part of your focus. So time flies by.
Yep. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, look, like, time's an illusion anyway. That's a separate conversation right there. So one of the things that, I would love to do live here on the show is I would love to experience a hypnosis with you. And, you know, obviously, you know, we've spoken previously and I was like, I want to change my mind about how I feel about bananas, because I am like the only vegan in the world that doesn't like bananas. I've literally referred to them as the yellow sticks of death before, because I cannot handle the smell of them. Like, there's been one sitting on my desk next to me. I had to actually, the fact that I went to the shops today to buy a banana and spend money on something, like, I'll buy them for my partner and I'll buy them for my son. My daughter's the same as me. She doesn't eat them, but I'm like, I'm actively going to the shops and paying money for an organic banana that I might end up eating today. Who even am I? And I mentioned to you before we jumped on here, is like, I was dreaming about it last night. So my subconscious mind is already preparing for this. So I would love to experience a hypnosis with you, and without any attachment as well. Like, I would love to be able to enjoy eating bananas in things, have them in smoothies, like every possible, like, vegan ice cream is made on banana. Every acai bowl, when mangoes aren't in season, are made on banana. It's like such a good fruit as well. I just haven't been able to eat them since I was like a little girl. So
You're a little girl. How old was that little girl?
I was pretty young. I would say I was probably 5. And funnily enough, I remember saying to my mum, I want a banana. And she's like, are you sure? Because you didn't eat the last one. And I said, yes. And I took a bite. And she said to me, I said, I don't want any more. She's like, see, you did it again. I told you that you weren't going to have the banana. Like, so there's stuff there. Like, you have a field day with this. I'm an open book right now. If you're tuning into the audio, you can definitely catch us doing this on the video on my YouTube channel as well. So just search Enlightened on YouTube if you're just on the audio. So, Jaden, over to you. I've got my trusty banana. I've got a bin in case I have to spit.
That may be the case, but let's see what we can do.
Okay.
So again, you did say people will be able to see the video, but I'm going to start by doing it the way how I was talking to you last time, and just see where we end up from there.
Okay.
Trance usually happens. I mean, it's always happening, but it happens so much easier by doing it this way. So if you're happy with your camera there, what I want you to do when you're ready, I think you've got a very similar chair to me. I just want you to take one of your arms, whichever arm feels more comfortable for you, and I just want you to sit it on the chair like this. Okay, so I'm going to keep an eye on that hand at all times. Mm-hmm. Okay, now when I do this, there's going to be 3 things that are going to happen. Like I say to people, this is an experiment. Treat it like a game or an experiment. Just imagine that I've never done this before, even though I have. That way you feel no pressure, right? There's no pressure. If this does happen, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There is no wrong. There is no right. And I always like to tell people that so they don't feel that pressure, because it doesn't matter if it responds, but it will. Okay? So there's going to be 3 things that are going to happen. Either it's not going to do anything at all. Mm-hmm. Second thing is it will do everything that we ask it to do. And the third thing is that it's not going to move and respond accordingly, but you might feel a pulsing, a pressure. You might even feel a tingling sensation. Now, because I can't see that, I'm going to say to you, hey, Jen, can you notice anything happening? Is something trying to move? Is it trying to communicate? Is something happening? Okay? So that hand now, all I want you to do is just give a little wiggle. All right. And then just let it relax there, almost like it's become someone else's arm, or it's like just a piece of meat sitting there, okay? And I'm going to actually begin to start to talk to this part, because the funny thing is, Jen, that this hand actually knows more about you than you know about yourself. And I'm going to prove that to you very shortly. So what I want to do, I want to begin to talk to Jen's amazing, powerful, creative, intelligent subconscious mind. And I want to talk to the part of her that has this banana problem. This part that stops Jen from being able to enjoy a banana like a normal human being that wants to enjoy bananas. So I want to talk to that part. I want that part to actually begin to go down Jen's shoulder, down her arm, down her forearm, and into the hand. And I want to ask this part if it's willing, if it's ready to communicate with us today with honest and unconscious movements. And when this part is in there and it's willing to communicate with us today, I want this part to move Jen's hand, one of her fingers, to give us a twitch, a wiggle. That's excellent. Thank you very much, subconscious. And Jen, if you want to keep your eyes closed, or you can open them, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I do just want to ask you now, you didn't do that, did you?
No.
Okay, great. And I check in with clients. I like to make sure, because I don't want you to do anything to please me. Okay? So that's great, subconscious. And we are very grateful. We're very appreciative. And we're very thankful that you've actually come out to communicate with us today. And I want to actually talk to this part even further. And if that part is willing and ready, can it just give us that sign or that signal once again, just to let us know? That's excellent. Thank you very much, subconscious. Doing perfectly. Now, subconscious, using the powers of your own intelligence, imagination, and concentration, I want you to begin to take control of that hand from the wrist down. The fingers, the nerves, the fibers, the muscles. of that hand and actually begin to just turn that hand and rotate it and give it those twitchy, jerking, moving sensations, and just turn that hand, that's it, towards Jen's beautiful face. That's excellent. Thank you very much, subconscious. Perfect. And you can just stay facing Jen, subconscious, if you can, if you will. And subconscious, I want to ask you now if you can just move that hand and just give Jen, just give her a little wave. Just give her a little wave. That's excellent. Doing perfect, subconscious. Now, I want to begin to ask you if you can just turn and rotate back towards me so that we can continue this conversation even further. That's excellent. Now, Jen, once again, I do want to check in. You're not doing this to please me, to help me, to just go along with it for the sake of people watching?
No.
That's excellent. Thank you very much, subconscious. Now, I want to begin to ask this part. Now, subconscious, if I went ahead today and I asked you a question, if I asked you a question today, subconscious, how would you answer yes? How would you answer that question? Can you move one of the fingers, give us a twitch, just give us a sign? That's excellent. Thank you very much. Now, subconscious, I want to ask you, if I ask you a question today, and the answer is no, if the answer is no, how would you answer that question? That's excellent. Now, subconscious, that's perfect. That's excellent. And now, subconscious, I want to begin to ask you a series of questions. And I want to just ask you the first question. Subconscious, is it true that you know more about Jen than she knows about herself? Is that true? That's excellent. Thank you very much. And subconscious, do you know why it is that this problem was created in the first place for Jen? That's excellent. And subconscious, would there be any reason or belief or any circumstance or any event that would actually stop you from making this change permanently and easily today? That's excellent. So, subconscious, you would be happy with this change? That's excellent. Thank you very much for that. And you know, Jen and I are very grateful that you have come out and allowed us to have this conversation. Now, subconscious, because you know more about Jen than Jen knows about herself, can you take Jen on the count of 3 in her mind's eye all the way back to the very first ever time this became a problem, to the very first ever scene, situation, circumstance, or event that's caused this problem in the first place? Subconscious, I'm not asking you to do it right now, but I'm asking you if you could try and do it. Would you be able to do that, subconscious? That's excellent. So, subconscious, what I want you to do is I want you to present to Jen that memory, that time, that circumstance or event that has everything to do with why we are doing this in the first place. So on the count of 3, I want you to take her back to that time. 1, 2, 3. Shh. Now, Jen, I just want to begin to ask you, would you say that you're there now?
Yes.
That's excellent. And are you happy to tell me and the viewers what's happening on this day?
I'm in a high chair and I'm choking on banana.
And you're choking on a banana. And how old would you say that you are?
Maybe 2.
That's right, you are, aren't you? Just a 2-year-old little girl sitting there choking on a banana. And as you think about that now, how does it make you feel?
Like I need to gag.
Like you need to gag. So what is it about it that makes you need to gag?
That's stuck in my throat. My mum's patting me on the back.
That's right. Your mum's patting you on the back. She's there for you, keeping you safe and looked after. And you might even realize that that high chair beneath you will also keep you safe, supported, and secure at all times. Just as your mum is there to save you, to protect you. Now, as you re-experience this event and you notice, other than wanting to gag, how is it that you're feeling?
Confused.
Confused. And it's a good thing to be confused, isn't it, subconscious?
Yes.
Because when you are confused, or when you are confused, that's when you learn, is it not?
Yes.
So what is it about choking on a banana and sitting in a high chair that could be confusing?
I don't know why it's happened.
You don't know why it's happened. You don't know what's happened, why you choked?
Why I was choking on it. It was like mashed up in a bowl and was having it with a spoon.
Did you maybe put too much into your mouth?
I think so.
That's great. So as you experience this event, what emotions or what feelings can you notice that are taking place right now?
That I don't want it anywhere near me.
That you don't want it anywhere near you.
Yeah.
But yet right now, all you want is to have that banana near you. So how could someone be at a place where all they want is that banana to go away, but yet they want it so close?
Because I was enjoying it before.
You're enjoying it before all this happened.
Yeah.
And what was it about the banana that you enjoyed so much?
I like the taste of it.
You did, didn't you? The taste of the banana.
Yeah.
What else?
It's creamy.
It was so creamy, delicious. It was banana-y. What else?
My favourite colour was yellow.
It was, or it is?
It was.
It was. That's right. And that just made you want to eat the banana more?
Yeah.
That's right. That's excellent. So what I want you to do now, Jen, is I want you to just float up above that event. I want you to float up higher and higher into the sky, higher and higher, further and further back, higher and higher. Now, as you look down on this event with your much older, wiser eyes, what is it about this event or the learnings that you can take away from this event that will allow you to let go of this emotion easily and effortlessly?
Looking at it from this perspective, it looks like if I had choked on it, I could have died.
You could have died,
Yeah.
but you didn't, and here you are.
Right.
Perfectly safe, perfectly fine. And there could have been plenty of other times where you've eaten things and you could have died as well. Could you not?
Yeah.
So what can you see or experience right now?
That I didn't die.
That's right. You didn't, did you?
Mm.
And everything is okay. And you're safe. You're safe now.
Mm-hmm.
You are safe now. What was that?
Sense of relief.
Sense of relief.
Mm.
And guess what, Jen? Relieving away. All the way, Jen. And take your time and do it thoroughly to feel that relief. And subconscious, as you continue to allow Jen to feel that relief, I want to begin to go back and just talk to the hand as this process happens. Now, subconscious, I do just want to ask you, is there something happening right now? Can you give me a yes or a no? That's excellent. And subconscious, are you beginning to relieve Jen of these symptoms once and for all? That's right. And subconscious, I want you to take all the time that you need, because this time is for you both to work together, to be confused and to learn. Because when the confusion settles, that's when we're relieved. Of the creaminess, the yellowness, the banana taste. And subconscious, can you just continue to relieve away thoroughly, peacefully, calmly, quietly? And subconscious, take your time. I want you to really just take your time. And subconscious, when you believe that this process is done enough just for now, can you just let me know with a sign or a signal, just to let me know that that's taken place? That's excellent. All the way. That's it. All the way now, Jen. That's it. That's it. Relieving away. Relieving away. And I do just want to ask you, subconscious, are you still working on that process? That's excellent. Now, Jen, I want you to just pull that picture up in your mind if you can, or that movie, that scene, that situation, that circumstance or event. And I want you to use the powers of your own intelligence, imagination, and concentration effectively, as I'm sure you will. And I want you to take that picture now, and I want you to shrink it down to the size of a 5-cent coin. Now I want you to flicker it black and white, flicker it black and white, flicker it black and white. Now I want you to imagine that there's actually a train driving behind you in the opposite direction. With your other hand, I actually want you to lift that picture up, and I want you to stick it to the train that's traveling in the opposite direction. Now, I want you to really, and I mean really, think about taking a bite from a beautiful, creamy, yellow, organic, delicious banana. And tell me what you notice.
How different it is.
How different it is. What was that?
But I'm not scared of it.
You're not scared of it. That's right. Because it seems ridiculous as an adult to be scared of mashed up banana, isn't it? That was then and this is now. And I'm sure there have been times in the past where your kids have choked or some catastrophes happened and they were safe. And you are safe now. Jen, I want you to go back to that little girl. I want you to see that little girl. I want the you of today to see that little girl. I want you to see the love, the joy, the happiness of that little girl. And I want you to look her in the face. And I want you to say, I have some very important things to share with you that are going to transform your life and make it all the better for you. Mm-hmm. I want you to tell her everything that she needs to know to be happy, to survive, to thrive, to understand the events of her life that are only going to make her more happy and more joyful than ever before. And take your time. And once you've done that, I want you to just let me know.
Yeah.
That's excellent. And I want you to say, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, I will always be that voice inside you that tells you everything's going to be okay. And Jen, when you know she's got it, when you know she's got it, I want you to pick her up. And I want you to look at that little girl and I want you to say, I love you. Thank you. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. And take that little girl now, Jen, and give her a big cuddle. Hold her to your heart now, Jen, and feel her shrink back down into your heart. And feel that clarity, that purpose, that love, that joy, that happiness that you've been looking for. Where she is now back inside you, surrounded by all the good things that she could ever want. She now has in an unlimited supply. And then, and only then, when she knows and understands that it's perfectly okay, she's perfectly safe, it's yellow, it's creamy, it's delicious. And you might find that you have a newfound taste, a newfound love. And not because I say so, Jen, but because these are the ideas, these are the suggestions, and this is the way that your mind works, and it's true for you now, and you live it to the fullest. Now, on the next count, you can emerge from this state only at the rate and speed that you can allow all these ideas, these circumstances, these events to integrate into a way that feels right to you. So on the count of 5, I want you to open your eyes, come back to the here and now, and notice how good you feel. 1, feel yourself returning to this place we call reality, bringing with you a brand new reality, a reality where you're in control, unstoppable, invincible in every way, a feeling that only gets better for you for as long as your heart continues to beat and your lungs continue to breathe. 2, feeling wonderful, amazing, and refreshed in every single way. 3 solutions to any problem that you need to solve, and your very own, other than unconscious mind, will now easily and effortlessly generate these solutions in the quickest, most effective way for the good of yourself and all concerned. 4, because it's all for you. You've done the work, Jen, and it's all for you now, and you live it to the fullest. On the next count, opening your eyes, coming back to the here and now, feeling wonderful and amazing about yourself, looking at bananas through a completely different perspective, the yellow, the creaminess, the sensation, the taste, the flavor might begin to remind you of how good it is to eat those wonderful, delicious, nutritious foods. On the count of 5, open your eyes, feeling wonderful. 5,
Well, that was a journey.
That was very short and very sweet, but it can be, yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Wow. I now know why I refer to them as yellow sticks of death. Had previously. As soon as that image popped into my mind's eye, I was like, there it is.
And what
That's
happens
amazing.
now when you think about it?
It doesn't bother me anymore.
Surely it couldn't be that easy.
Surely. It's a test now, isn't it?
Hey, it's totally up to you. If you want to put yourself to the test,
There's no time like the present.
there's no time like the present.
I literally see them from a different light now.
You
Okay,
do, don't you?
I've not peeled a banana close to me. Like, this is progress. Like, usually I can't peel them for my son. Usually they have to be like I can smell it, and I'm not hurling.
You're not hurling. I mean, why would you? Because they smell delicious, right?
My heart's racing.
Your heart's racing.
Yeah.
So what could a racing heart have to do with eating banana?
I think it's just been so long. It's been a very long time since I've had a banana this close to me. Like, that right there is, like, I can smell it, and I don't want to vomit. Like, that's the biggest thing right now.
Well, you're safe now. You're safe now.
I'm safe now.
That was then and this was now. You're safe now. You're not that little girl anymore. You're safe now.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all the unconscious mind wants is to keep us happy and safe, right? And in that moment, you didn't feel like you were safe. So why would you want to go back to eating something that you before didn't feel like you were safe, but you are safe now? You are in control now. You can look after yourself if you're choking.
Mm-hmm.
You're an adult now. You're safe now.
I am. My stomach's like, are you sure? Guess there's only one way to try it.
See how easy it is to chew and swallow?
Yeah, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. I mean, it's really not that bad, is it? It's only a banana.
I think I'm done for now. Small steps, but I'm not. No one died.
No one died. I mean, why would you from a banana, right?
Right? Wow. Okay, there we go. If anyone that knows me listening to this is a big deal. Like, I have been anti-bananas for so long. Like, I couldn't even have one in the room near me. Yeah, this is a big deal. So now I get to recreate my relationship with bananas.
And this is the thing, right? It depends on what the client and the person individually wants. You know, maybe you're just happy to be able to peel them and prepare them for other people. Maybe you're now happy to have them in a smoothie. It doesn't mean that you have to go out and buy it and eat every one that you want to see. But if you can get to a place where before they couldn't be in the room, you couldn't even peel them, imagine just being able to peel it or prepare it or cut it up for someone else. You know, and this is what I say. It comes down to how far you want to take it. Like, what do you want for yourself? You know, if you want to be able to eat them, then again, you could do more on that and build on that, you know. And when people, you know, when they're in the room and we've got the time, you know, you would. There's so many things. But, you know, and this is what I say to people. It doesn't matter how long a program or a problem has been there. And again, everything, as I was saying before, is based on emotion. You know, it came out finally at the end. You know, I asked you a couple of times, what's the emotion? And I don't think we got there. But then you said, I don't feel the fear anymore. So again, if you felt fear eating a banana, that is the emotion that's stopping you from doing it. You relieve the fear, you get the fear out of the way, then you automatically look at it different.
I didn't even know there was fear there. It's so interesting, when you opened up the suggestion to go to the memory where it started. I mean, it's such a young age to remember that. I don't have a conscious memory of it, but I saw myself in the high chair in the lounge room where we used to live in, Melbourne. And even the little white bowl that was in and the spoon and everything, I could see it all right there in front of me. It's amazing.
And this is what I say, the subconscious never forgets. I think when we were talking off air, but I'll mention it on here, in a session, I take people back to a happy memory, a sad memory, to when they were walking. Because consciously people go, I have no recollection, no memory of that. But it's still in there. It's stored away. It's out of your conscious awareness. So if you can hypnotize someone or take them into a trance or an altered state, whatever you want to call it this week, by getting them to go into that state, they can access those memories, these events. And it's very, very common. I worked with a person recently on motivation. They wanted to get up and ride their bike. And, they were in a massive cycling event. And the event didn't go their way. And, they were upset and hurt. And they left that event going, I suck, I'm crap, I'm all that time wasted for nothing. And then, really wanting to get back on the bike, waking up every morning, talking himself out of it based on the fear that came back from that event that was, years ago. It was no longer in his awareness, but that fear every day that he woke up about getting back on the bike, the voice was, what's the point? You crap anyway. You're too slow. Doesn't matter how much you train. You're never going to get there. Lay in bed. Get the iPad. It's way better. And then we play these mind games with ourselves where we talk ourselves out of the things that we're saying that we want.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Can we change our minds without hypnosis? Is there the chance for us to go in there consciously into our subconscious and, rewire it? Or is it best done, with a therapist under that, that trance state, being guided through it?
I mean, you definitely can. Self-hypnosis, you can always, and again, we're doing this all the time, when we're at traffic lights and we're daydreaming and we're zoning out, or we're creating, the dinner in our mind that we're going to have later, or the date that we're going to have, we're constantly doing this. So people can do it themselves through time and practice and repetition. But the quickest and easiest way is always going to someone who has your best interest at heart, and they know what they're doing, because you can get guided. It is sometimes very hard to be the guide and the person doing the therapy. It sometimes does clash. So I do recommend going to see someone, but you can absolutely do it yourself. For me, to reprogram myself to be able to sleep at night, I used to lay in bed, stay up for hours, toss and turn, couldn't sleep. Well, was me, lay in bed, dwell and stress. Now my head hits the pillow and I'm gone like that, because I spent a year of my life training myself, making myself do that, reminding myself that laying in bed isn't the time to dwell or to be stressed or to worry or to be anxious. That's fucking sleep time. And if you don't sleep properly, you'll wake up worse tomorrow. So I put it to bed. I put it to bed and I worry about it tomorrow, So again, I would recommend going to someone, but some people make up beliefs or excuses that they can't afford it, or it's not for them, or they don't believe it. But if you bust through those shit beliefs that you have, your life will change.
I love it. Tell us about how people find you, work with you. Obviously, when this podcast goes live, you've got, ways in which you, can work with people, but you've also got some shows coming up. You've got a certification that people can get on board as well. Tell us all about how we get in your field, work with you and connect with you.
I've written some notes so I don't forget, because I always go to do a video and I'm like, what were the dates again? What was the first question? Where can people find me? Okay, so I'm on Facebook, Jaden Boon, or Hypnotist Jaden Boon. I'm on Instagram, Hypnotist Jaden Boon. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. I'm on all the main social media platforms. Update, my website is currently under construction. Finally, four years later, website is currently under construction. So website coming soon. But ideally, people should just reach out. If they want to have a chat, even if they got questions, they just want to know anything, just reach out. I'm always available. I love answering questions. So all forms of social media. As for the events coming up, I've got a hypnotherapy certification, full 3 days of training, teaching people exactly what I do, and I guess the fast track to all the things that I've learned over the last 4 years, plus the thousands upon thousands and thousands of dollars that I spent, so people can have the same. You know, I've got to say to people, even if people don't want this to help people, just come to transform your own life. It's cheaper than a therapy session with me. You know, it's $997 and you get 3 days to learn how the mind works, what it does, how we can break through limitations, beliefs, whatever bullshit excuse or reason that you're telling yourself. You know, even the old "I can't afford it" excuse. As we know, it's an excuse. I love saying this to mums. You've got a little child, don't you? Yes, I do. What if little Johnny fell over and snapped his leg and you needed $3,000 for emergency surgery? Do you think you could find that to save your kid's life? Yeah. So why can't you spend $1,000 on yourself to absolutely transform your life? You know, it's a very, very small price to pay. So there is that 3-day certification. And then that's on the 11th of March, the 17th to the 19th. So a full 3 days. Then the hypnosis, I've got my comedy hypnosis show coming up the week before. So that's on the 11th of March. And that's at the Redlands Sporting Club in Wellington Point. So if people
Brisbane,
want to come,
Queensland, Australia.
yeah, for the out there audience, the broader audience. And that's just a great night. If you want to come see people use the power of their mind, share their personality, and have a good time, it's the best night.
Amazing. How do we get tickets?
Tickets are through Eventbrite, so you can either Jaden Boon me through Eventbrite, or you can go on my Facebook page. There's links everywhere. I post it all the time. So the link will be there. It'll be on my page. Same for the hypnotherapy certification. People want to go check that out. The link's there, same as the show.
Perfect. And we'll link to all that in the show notes as well. And then if you're listening to this after March, still reach out to Jaden. You know, once his website is live, keep an eye out on social media for that, because that will have all of the dates for upcoming shows, certification, events. And you share so much incredible stuff on social media as well. Your posts are very inspiring, very motivating as well. You're doing incredible work, and I'm so grateful that I was able to have you on the show to have not only a chat about all the things, but to just experience your magic as well. And honestly, it worked. For me to put a banana in my mouth is ridiculous.
Change doesn't take a long time. We change in a split second. Someone dies, we have a car accident, one of our limbs gets amputated. We change in a split second. And it's the same in a therapy. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. And that's my biggest message to people. It's quick, it's fast, it's rapid. It's not sitting in a room drumming on about it for 10 hours. It's just not like that.
Yep. No, it's been amazing. Any wisdom that you would like to impart to our listeners before we wrap up?
Yep. If you've got a goal, a dream, fucking follow through with it. Just stick to what you're committed to. You know, do what makes you happy. You know, we spend so much time doing shit that makes us unhappy, or people pleasing, or doing shit for other people. Do something for yourself. Make yourself happy. No, it doesn't. No one can fucking make you happy. Your partner can't make you happy. Your mum and dad can't. I'm telling you now, your kids can't make you happy. You've got to make yourself happy. And, you know, if you can get your mind right and do every day what truly makes you happy, you know, you're set. You know, you get to have fun. And, you know, they say it all the time, and I'll say it too. You know, if you find what you love, you never work a day in your life. We're still working. I work hard. You work hard. We're in a business. We work hard, but it's fun. We're doing it for us. You know, to build ourselves, to grow ourselves, to make ourselves better, and inspire the people that want to come to our circle along the way. You know, I only want to work with those who like what I say, that resonate with me, not because they feel they've been pressured or pushed into it. You know, I'm here for those that like what I say and they think that I can help them. You know, I'm not here to blow smoke up people's ass or piss in their pocket, you know.
I love it.
That's my wisdom.
That's great wisdom. You're amazing. Jaden Boon, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.